Good morning and welcome. I'm Bob Pace, your host, and I'm glad you joined the podcast about CPS, fighting CPS, and getting back your children. This CPS stands for Child Protection Society. It's a branch of social services that, protect our children through abuse and neglect. It's also supposed to be doing family um, get back together. I mean, there may be hiccups or something like that, but it's unification of the family. It's the most important part of what CPS is supposed to be functioning doing. Now, if you want to type in comments, I'd love to have your comments right now. Um, all you do at the bottom of your YouTube that you're watching, because this is broadcast from Facebook on YouTube with the application called SteamYard.com. And you can type in a comment to me. Make sure you put your name and the city. And if you're from other country, that's all fine too, because I've had other countries contact about their CPS. So it's a worldwide problem. And most of the people that I talked to, over 100 of them, seem to fall in line with what happened to me in my CPS case. I went through a horrific CP case. It's been 14 years. 3 of it was very active. I lost a child. I lost a home. I lost so many things. My family's never been the same. So hopefully I can tell you all about um, my experiences and answering your questions. So a comment would help me answer them and so forth. Now, another way you can interact with the show is to call in to my office phone is 626-698-0990. That's my direct line, and my phone will answer, and I can put you on speakerphone, and you could be a guest on our show. If you're not ready to be a guest or talk on a show, you can schedule it for another time. You can schedule it 888-888-6582 to be our guest. And so, also, I have a tick at the bottom. There's another way you can do our guest besides calling in is to email our producer, Grace at VincentWDavis.com. And I'd love to have you speak on the show. I'm on, 14 shows, 7 days a week, twice a day. Usually I'm on at 10 in the morning and at 7 o'clock in the evening for 1 hour Pacific Standard Time. There are some exceptions. Today I came on a little bit early at 9:15, so my show will go 9:15 to 10:15. And this Sunday, and every Sunday, been started at 10:30 because of another show. So I love to have you. I love to welcome you, and I hope that I can be of some assistance to you and how to fight CPS and get your children back. One of my first rules I always talk about is you need an attorney. And why you need an attorney is just like a doctor who needs, if you have open heart surgery, you have to get a doctor to perform it for you. Open heart surgery is real critical. So is CPS. You need someone to know the strategies and how to fight CPS and get your children back. Vincent W. Davis Associates is a law firm in Southern California that produces this show. It has many legal attorneys. One attorney, Mr. Vincent Davis, specializes in dependency law, family law, juvenile law. He is a fighter. He knows how to get your kids back. He knows how to fight CPS. He's a trial attorney. In fact, he sued CPS and won cases. Now, he works in Southern California, but will work in Northern California or any of the other 50 states. His retention is based on how long your case been going on, his retainer, and how complex the case is and where it's located. Of course, out of state is going to be more than in state and so forth. Now, what you want to do, because you need this attorney to fight CPS, You should call in to 888-888-6582. Tell them that Bob Pace sent you and that you want to schedule a consultation with Mr. Davis. The consultation, there is a charge for it, but it's a real small nominal charge, and you will be able to talk to a real attorney, a professional attorney. And after you talk to him, you're going to want to retain him. I did. He got two of my 3 children back. So that's 888-888-6582. When you talk to Mr. Davis, tell him that Bob Pace sent you. It's really important about that. Okay, I told you about the first rule. And now you're wondering, what do I do with this weird case I got myself into? Well, I'm going to tell you something about the people you're up against. And they're from my experience and from over 100 people I've talked on the show. CPS is a non-transparent agency. They're not accountable. Their workers are not trained, not educated. They're young. They have no mentor of an older CPS worker, been around for a while, so they're thrown in right in the circle of things and know how to do family reunification. They think they're therapists. They think they can diagnose parents or children if they have a mental issue. They also think they can prescribe drugs. And that's a no-no. You need a doctor to do that. Anyway, they'll lie. They'll use deceitful practice. One of the practices is use the police department to muscle their way into your home or into your life. And it's sad. It really is sad. Now, rule number 2 is, after you've got rule number 1 taken care of, is to get a notebook and write down everything that's transpiring. You want the date and time, the people involved, what the incident was, and then the outcome of the incident. The outcome is very important. You may not know it for a couple weeks where it is, but that notebook of your notes will be valuable because the case may last a long time, may last a couple years. So you definitely need a notebook, rule number 2. Now, you may wonder, how do I go about fighting CPS? Well, you're not going to win, especially without an attorney. I tried to fight them for years by emails, meeting with the top dog and everything. I found out that when I met with a top dog or one of their managers, it went out one ear, it went out the other ear. Didn't care who I was. I'm educated, and I had a hiccup in my life. I had a perfect storm brewing, lost my home. Some other things were happening too. I found out I had a predatory loan. I lost half of my retirement. The bank crashed in 2007. It was all coming together. Then CPS started alleging things against me. Phone calls or come out to see me or things like that. Now, there are 2 types of people that allege what's happening. One is your professional, and 2 is your layperson. Your layperson is someone like a family member, a friend, or whatever it is. In my case, a layperson, my in-laws on my wife's side were calling in and reporting things that weren't true, especially after I lost my job. They're making my life miserable. Now, a professional is like a school teacher, a policeman, a nurse, counselor, anybody that has children and professionally works with children is required by law to notify CPS of a suspected neglect and suspected abuse. Now, when the suspected abuse and neglect comes in, the social workers are trained and they have to respond within 24 hours from the time that they receive the information. Most of the time it's by phone. I think it should be in writing. I think the person's name should be signed to it. And that way, if they say a lie or use it, they can use it against them to sue them. Because people say things, they're family members because they're hiding behind a phone. Now, when they open up an investigation against you, they believe the allegation is true. This is the only court or anything places that you're guilty till you're proven innocent. Usually, all other criminal matters, you are innocent till you're proven guilty. But not with CPS. Not with their system, you're guilty. So that's already working against you. And see, that's why you need an attorney so much. You need an attorney to help you weed and go through all the issues. So, with that being said, it's very, very important that you just, when you talk to them, this is rule number 3, is that it's a yes no answer. You don't want to tell them everything. That was my mistake. I thought I could be honest with them. I thought I could tell them everything, and they use things against you. It's so bad. Rule number 3 is you do not talk to social workers and do not let them in your house. Again, that was my mistake. You don't let policemen. You don't talk to them. Unless they're going to give you arrest for something or a citation for a traffic thing. Is that, and again, when you talk to policemen, it's best to say yes, no, yes, no. Same thing with social workers. And what you could do when you're talking to a social worker is say, oh, my attorney will contact you. Or I have an attorney and you can call him. So the idea is they're afraid of that. If you already have an attorney, they know that you're going to be trouble. Because they're trying to prey on people that are stupid like me. And I wasn't stupid. I just believed that we could talk to our government agencies and our police like they were respectful and they would help you, not crucify you. Also, when the CPS get police, they try to enact their superior power. But again, if they don't have a warrant, they can't enter your home. They can't take away your children. They got to have a warrant signed by a judge, and the police can get one and so forth like that. Well, what's going to happen is called retaliation. The police retaliated against me by duplicating what CPS was accused me of. They wanted to criminally charge me, which further delayed my kids, put my kids in social services. So you have to be really careful when police involved. My mistake was I should have just said, no, thank you. And refused them to do anything they did. See, CPS have been investigating me for 5 years because my in-laws were alleging things would happen because I lost a job. My wife has suspected that they had wanted children for a long time. They didn't come to her wedding. They gave my wife a hard time, her mother and dad. Her sisters, they weren't supportive. They were really a bad family. And I talked to some people yesterday that had, like an older sister called in on the mom. She was trying to do revengeful things. It was so terrible how lay people can be so revengeful. Spouses and divorce cases will call on a parent to try to alienate the parent. CPS will alienate your kids from you. They'll make up stories, make up lies. They're not your friend. They're not going to help you. So I say, rule number 3, don't let them in your home and don't talk to them. Either police or them. Now, if they have a warrant, make sure the warrant is signed by a judge and specifically tells you what they can do. And that's all they can do. And it's going to get rough for you because their whole goal is to put them in foster care or custody of CPS, and they get to keep money. They get money all the time. They get money from the federal government to take care, and it's excessive money. In fact, I just found out yesterday, which I didn't know, that the parent death benefits that she's getting, CPS ended up intercepting and taking the Social Security death benefits. I could not believe how CPS is infiltrated. They're making so much gobs of money. My workers were terrible. They're young. They were very naive, didn't have very much education, and it was hard. It was hard. Um, so I'm telling you, is that you need to get that rule number one, the attorney going. You need to take notes. Rule number two, and then rule number three is don't talk to them. Now, um, I don't know what your case is about. If you can text in a message, it'd be great. I'd love to hear from you. Or if you want to call in and speak, I'd love to hear from you. You'd like to be a guest on our show at 626-698-0990. Now, okay. Um, you will find that it's very, very, very difficult when you're in this spot. I know how it hurts. I know how it feels. You are a good person out there trying to have your family put back together that's been interrupted. Now the allegations are going on and they're trying to investigate. Well, typically they have 48 days in California to complete the case. And most of the cases are here last years, not 48 hours, because they drag it on and on and on. But you need to know the system that we have going. You need to know different codes and different um, um, different rules, regulations. There's a handbook CPS uses. They don't follow it. Um, these are some things that will help you when your kids are taken away by social workers. You want to make sure you tell the social worker how much you love your kids. The social workers want to hear that. You want to tell the social worker you do anything necessary to gain custody of your children. Where appropriate, after speaking to experienced child dependency attorney, they will the ones that tell you what you can say, what you don't want to say. You want to enroll and complete any of the following self-help programs, like Alcohol Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Gambler Anonymous, individual counseling, anger management counseling, conjoint therapy with your child, conjoint therapy with the other parent, also parenting classes, and so forth. I can't tell you how much an experienced dependency lawyer is important with your case. Now, there's the Welfare and Institution Code 300B. That code is very, very important. Now, a child comes under the Welfare and Institution Code if the child has suffered, now this key word, suffered or there's substantial risk the child will suffer seriously physical harm or illness as a result of the failure or inability of his or her parents for guardian to adequately supervise and protect the child. And so, if you're not watching your child, and that's could be called neglect, and they're going to take your child away. The three elements for jurisdiction under Section 300, Subdivision B, are one, neglectful conduct by the parent in one of the specific forms, causation or serious injury. That the child is substantial risk. Um, if a social service agency worker believes a child at risk, they will investigate and possibly detain the children. Well, I don't know this possibility part because it seems like all the time they take away children. Sometimes in emergency situations, the SSA, the social service worker, will detain the child and investigate if detention is necessary. Now, detention is when they take him into their custody. Now, dependency cases are so serious and complex they require a knowledgeable attorney who knows dependency rules and requirements. So, what's going to happen is that when they come into your home and you allow them in, you give them permission, unless you talk to an attorney, you should not. I did so. Of course, the time I did so, I had nothing to hide. And they came at home and saw it was fine and, talked to me. This has been going on 5 years, but they were frustrated because my in laws, my wife's family, were constantly calling in to complain stuff that wasn't true. And I had to show them everything. And then, I led them in the home and they couldn't see anything wrong. Well, after 5 years, think they got smart and they got the police department involved. In turn, a detective had followed me when I picked up my son from school and then had a black and white cruiser stop me. And then he came up and talked to me and demanded that I go back to the home. I should have said no. Unless I've committed a crime or you told me anything, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to go pick up my wife and then go home. So I did not want to fight. I thought it was the right thing to do. Well, he didn't have a warrant. He didn't. I mean, it was like he had no justification. He was fishing and he was at the urgency call by the social workers. And when I showed him my home, it was a horrible sight. There were 5 firemen. I don't know what firemen it got to be there. 2 code enforcement, 3 social workers, 2 uniformed policemen, and the detective all standing in my front yard. And I thought, hey, wow, the house must have burned down or there was definitely trouble or whatever it was. So, anyway, um, when they're all standing there, they want to go into my house. Well, part of my perfect storm, not only was CPS involved and I'd lost my job and I was having a hard time because of my age getting another one and lost half a retirement and had a predatory loan on my house. With all that going on, my parents were dying, and I had taken in their furniture, helped disperse among the relatives. The problem being is that I didn't have money to put them in storage, so I used my house, think I could sort and do so. And at first, I tried to do that at the front part of my garage, at the apron where I usually park the cars. So I had wrapped up the my family's furniture and all their belongings with tarps, and it was neatly organized there. But I lived in a private neighborhood, and they said, no, you can't do that. So I had to take it inside. I had some of the stuff in the garage, some in the yard, some on the porch, and a lot of it in the house. Now it looked cluttered, but it was still where there's walkways and stuff was stacked not too high. But when they came to my house then, at their insistence, they made the comment that, oh, these things could cause harmful effects to your child, your negligence. And I said, how am I negligence? Well, you have boxes piled up and furniture piled up. And the thing was, the kids had their own bedrooms. They're all nice and clean upstairs. And I could not see these boxes coming up to attack the kids or the furniture that come up the stairs and attack the kids. But they felt it was so extreme that they wanted to take the kids into custody. So they took the kids. And I at first says, well, do you have to really do it? Yes, we do. They were lying. That first setup was a setup. That was a setup for me, and that was sad. It was sad that they were setting things up there. And so I had to deal with this deception, and they charged me. But not only did the CPS the detective wrote his reports, and he got the district attorney to make charges too. So they were trying to make a criminal case. It's a misdemeanor, by the way. And CPS was, so they were double hammering me. And I don't know if it's because they were upset because I refused to talk to them. At the end of the 5 years, or they couldn't find anything, and whatever the reason being, it was bad. It was bad. So you don't want to get police involved if you can avoid it, because they're going to investigate it too, and they can make charges. They can make a felony charge or a misdemeanor charge. Then you got a criminal matter, and CPS says, "Oh, goody goody." That means we'll have to wait till the criminal matters settle before we start the CPS matter. That means we can keep our kids in longer in foster care. That means we get more money per month per kid. So that's not a good thing. It was not a good thing. And so um, I had this criminal case that lasted a year, and they kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And it wasn't until I plea bargained with them, and they took away some of the counts and took all the counts off my wife and left me with a misdemeanor and 3 counts of negligence, child negligence. And it was further explained that belongings were stacked too high. So that could endanger the kids. The word is could. It didn't say it did, but it could. So that was really hard for me to how can you say it, accept. And here was this criminal matter hanging over for me for a year. And of course, CPS was dolly taking their time. They took her kids the first night, 2 of them out of school. One was going to a private school, high school, and then another one was going to a middle school. And they're taken, and there were no explanations said to them about where their parents or what's wrong with their parents or anything. They're put into a shelter that was overcrowded, and it was dirty, and the play area was in the same place as the prison that was there. There's a prison nearby with prisoners that charge cases. So, you know, they had an outside play area that was infected with bees, and the kids would be endangered of bees. What kind of protection is that? Where's CPS's head? It really is hard to understand that to be like that. But they were kept there overnight. We visited them. The kids did not know why they were taken because the social workers don't tell the kids anything. They try to alienate the kids from their parents. They're the worst case of alienation I've ever seen, that CPS is. They badmouth the parents and they put the parents down, hoping to be alienated from the seniors. And it was hard. It was really hard, and it still affects me to today. So now they're in custody of CPS. They got what they want to get their money monthly, and it's really great. They never asked for my social security number or anything about whether I was collecting social security or not, which surprised me. This other lady says that they were. That other lady happened to be in South Carolina. So that's a real critical state. Okay, I was thinking that it's so hard at times to relive my case, and I was looking for some text messages of people asking questions on there and stuff. So, um, uh, um, um, at this time, I do want to remind everybody about rule number one: to get an attorney. It's very important to get an attorney. Call in at 888-888-6582. Speak to the office. Say that Bob Pace sent you. We have attorney Mr. Davis that's fully qualified to handle dependency cases. And he's very experienced in fighting CPS, and he has gotten kids back from, and he's won his cases. He's also a trial attorney. He's a professional family lawyer, and He has years and years of experience fighting in Southern California, Northern California, and several of the states across the country. And so, with that in mind, try to set up a consultation with him. It's a low fee, but he will address and strategize what to do about your kids taking CPS. You'll need that attorney to go through this case. Also, when you talk to Mr. Davis, make sure you mention his name. Another thing, if anybody besides texting a comment in there would like to call in at 626-698-0990 to be a guest on the show, be much appreciated. That way they can you can maybe vent your case and also help others that are listening. And maybe there's something that you did and also things that are new that I might learn something. So again, call in 626-698-0990. And if you want to talk on the show, there's 14 of these shows. You can call in to 888-888-6582. Tell them that Bob Pace sent you, and then just pick a show, either Friday morning, Saturday evening, Monday morning, Tuesday evening, whatever the time you want. You can call in there. Also, if you send a fax, or an email, I should say, not a fax, an email, you can send it to our show producer, and that is Grace at vincentwdavis.com, and she'll set up a time and a place for you to talk. So that's really, really important there. So when my kids were being pushed around from the shelter, then into a group home, then into foster care, it didn't look like they were going to come back anytime soon. I'd spent almost a year and a half fighting them on my own and finally hired Mr. Davis. I had to get rid of my home, all my savings, everything to do it because it was very expensive, but my family was so important to me. And it was also a hurtful experience because I was older in life. At 60, I lost my job. At 68, uh, um, at 65, they took away my kids. At 68, they returned my kids. And so, that's a lot that you're supposed to be doing in your golden year. That's really not a good thing in there. So it behooves you to work through this case as best you can. Do what they ask you to do, and but keep track of it with your notes. And as I say very little to them. Do what your attorney says to do. Now, one thing is, when you go to dependency court, they'll give you a defender. They'll give you a protector. So the public defenders usually have a case log. So they have you uh, you have to know certain things. Like after you complete something, there's a 388 form. Now, that's something your attorney will know. A 380 is a petition. And what it is, it's a petition to change things in your case. It also helps to open up your case to changes, things that you've done, like completed your classes or completed your drug testing is all free and everything. And so it's a motion. It goes before the courts, and they will change your juvenile case. Like say you complete all your parenting classes, you complete all your anger management, and that you've been drug tested for a year. Well, that motion is important to use in court, and it'll change or modify the previous court order if you make those changes. So let me see here. The 3-8 motions are used to petition the court for a hearing to change, modify, or set aside any previous court order. The motion will be in writing filed with the clerk of juvenile courts. The party filing the 380 motion must serve notice on all parties to the case, including the child's attorney and probation officer. And then it's when you file a petition of 380, a hearing will be started within 30 days of the filing. That's how it works. You're making a change. Um, Now, there's some question about what is a juvenile dependency court. Juvenile dependency court is that hears cases involving abuse, neglected, or abandoned children. The goal of the court is to protect the child and provide for the safety and permanency and well-being. Now, why are 388 hearings important? They are a good opportunity for you to change the juvenile's court order. Now, it's important you talk to your attorney about this because the burden of proof will be you required in court. That's really, really important. So, they're very complex because that's where you need the attorney, but they can help navigate and present your case in court. There are one of many ways to modify a court order, uh, to modify a juvenile court order. So it's very important you understand that um, uh, what they do there. So now, one thing I noticed that um, parents who make mistakes, this is really important, can improve and regain custody of children in the dependency court. When a parent does something that results in a social worker knocking on the door, it often leads to their children being taken away by the state. This mistake can be anything from spanking their child with a belt to getting in a fight with a significant other in front of the kids. See, there's things you know about domestic violence where there's physical uh, when you fight with another, but there's something called verbal domestic violence, and that is where you argue in front of the kids. You raise your voice. The parents see the parents arguing with each other, saying bad things. That hurts the child. So that is going to be one reason your kids are taken away is verbal abuse. It doesn't have to be domestic violence, so like that. Um, if you end up facing the loss of your children in a child dependency court, you may believe you'll never regain custody of your children. In most cases, with a proper legal guidance by the attorney, you can regain legal custody of your children. The Child Dependency Court is designed to protect children from abuse by their parents or legal guardians. If petition is filed in the dependency court, the lawyer for the social workers, called the county council, will file a petition, ask the court to take legal custody from you. You have the right to have a lawyer fighting for you beginning prior to the first court hearing. The rules in the dependency court are very complex and differ from other rules in California. The first thing you should do if a social worker has come to speak to you or your child or children is to consult with a law firm. And that's where Mr. Davis is really important. Um, for instance, if you had experience with the extent of hoarding in child dependency courts, that could be against you too. Now, one of the most common reasons children are taken from their parents, if the allegations are true and your child engaged some sort of altercation with your significant other, with your children present, the soldier may come to your home and take your children. However, if a petition is filed against you, the burden is the county to prove that is true. That's really important. They have to prove with evidence that domestic violence occurred with your children present. In addition, they must prove that your children are at risk or harm. If they remain in your custody, your lawyer can work with you to determine what the true facts of the instance are, and if the allegations are false, can be worked to convince the court that the case should be dismissed. If a domestic violence incident took place, then your lawyer can work with you so you can be in counseling, anger management, or parenting classes to show that the court this may not have been an isolated incident and that you or your partner will not repeat the behavior. The bottom line that no one is perfect. I understand that you guys aren't perfect there. I'm not perfect. Parents make mistakes every day when they try to do their best to raise their children in a loving home. However, in most cases, if you follow the advice of your lawyer, your children will be returned to you. So it's not lost out there. You just need to get an attorney. Now that public defender with the caseload of 20 doesn't work very well for you. They don't really care, and they're friends of the social worker's attorney. And in my case, my judge had no experience in handling children or family law. His experience was how to handle automobile collision claims and property damage. That was his mistake. So you need to know what your judge can do. So parents do make mistakes every day when they try to do their best to raise their children in a loving home. To keep that. So I cannot stress upon the importance of talking to a attorney that can help you out with your case. Um, Now I found some new information just recently researching it. Um, there's a form in the Health and Human Service Agency that is called the Grievance Procedure for Challenging Reference to Child Abuse Central Index. So, if you wanted to challenge, there is a form you can fill out that will fight them. And it's called the Grievance Procedure for Challenging Reference to Child Abuse Central Index. And it tells you exactly what you need to do and how you can challenge them. Now, one of the first things that you're going to do when your children are taken from you, you're going to have a planning meeting or a safety meeting. And it's going to be how your kids are going to be housed during their time when they're taken from you so that you can correct your problems and deal with the issues at hand. Um, so, um, this planning meeting is with you and the social workers, and you could have your attorney there, which would be a good thing. Is that they're going to ask you for a list of family friends that the children could stay with. It's imperative that you try to give them some names of family members the kids could stay with, because if they house them, they're going to be abused. My children were abused in foster care. They were put in a group home. They were abused. They're actually treated really bad in the group home. I'm not a fan of the shelter where they had a prison next door and the dependents were nearby and they had a beehive. They weren't protected at the shelter. And the group home is run by Boys Town, who knew all about how to deal with children without parents. But when there was a challenge, they taught the children not to love their parents, put their hands to the side. It was terrible. It was so terrible to go through that. But my son was scolded for drinking too much orange juice. His points were taken away. My other son wanted to study. He's in private school, and they said lights out at a certain time, and he had to stay late to study. He was a robotic engineer. He was on a STEM program where he was taking a science class, a technology class, engineering class, and a math class. That's the STEM track. And you know, social service did not care. They were doing their best to have the parents not be seen or anything like that. And what's so sad about it is that the kids will not know what the parents are doing. The parents don't know what the kids are doing. They're trying to alienate. They are trafficking your children. They're illegally taking. They're supposed to be an agency you can trust, and they've gone overboard. Yes, there's a need for them to protect our children from neglect and abuse, but there's not a need for them to abuse the system for money. And that's what they are. They get money from the state and federal government. They get money from Social Security. Anywhere there's money, they get money. It's a money-making thing. My social worker was so young that she was more interested in her Gucci purse, her makeup, her eyelashes, her dress, or her car. She always says, "Well, I get bonuses and stuff like that." And it was stupid on her part because she led me that that's what a social worker is. You know, I think social workers should be educated, should have a college degree in social science, or anyone dealing with social workers in general. They should go through a certificate program or a license, and they should be refreshed every so often. But these changes we're talking about have to be made through the Congress. Your congressmen have to make those changes in Congress, which is sad because there is no board of trustees watching these social workers. There's no accountability for the money they spend or what they're doing. You're going to find that kind of a shock to you. So um, I'm telling you that it's really hard when you deal with them, but not to give up. You want to do those three rules: get an attorney, take notes, and say no to social workers. Don't let them in your home. I'll talk again to you tonight at 7 o'clock. It's getting close to my time is almost up. I want to thank you for listening to me. I hope I was able to share some things with you. Um, so I want you to tune in and to keep fighting for your kids. Good luck in the new year. Much success and happiness. God bless you. And this is Bob Pace signing out.